Thanks for joining us this Thursday afternoon. As it's starting to fill up here pretty quickly, lots taking place. Big one, of course, is the POSOX revised legislation going before House Finance this afternoon. But in the meantime, I'd like to welcome my first guest, Representative Sherry Roberts. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You've been in studio with us before. I'm glad to catch you up here. We're getting into the waning weeks of the session here. But you've got a piece of legislation that you want to talk about, which you said would help Rhode Island taxpayers get their returns on time.
Yes, I'm hoping. This piece of legislation is H 7487 regarding personal income tax. And actually, this bill first came from Rep. Doreen Costa, and I liked it so much that I picked it up. But I think that taxpayers, our government bureaucracies hold taxpayers accountable with extra fees and things like that, and have to pay by a certain deadline. And I think that really the taxpayer should be able to hold government bureaucracies accountable also. So I introduced this bill, and what it does is that anybody who files the taxes who doesn't get them within 90 days from the filing would be able to hold government bureaucracies accountable in a way that they would have to pay by that time, or each day would be compounded by 12% daily for each day after that 90 days that they haven't received their tax refund.
I mean, how big is an issue? We've heard this from all around the state. You must have heard from constituents, I still haven't gotten my tax refund.
Yes, I've heard that quite a bit. So maybe if we could get this passed, that this would help. So I think, if something like this were passed, obviously the Treasury would be more inclined to pay a lot faster.
And do you think that there's, clearly inherent pushback from the state just because they would incur an additional cost? But you talk about the cost of business if the taxpayer is beholden to getting things paid on time. You want the state to be held to the same standard.
Yes, I think it's only fair. I mean, really, it's supposed to be that the citizens run our government, right? So, but why is it? It seems to be in the reverse here in Rhode Island. So that's a problem.
So you talk about former Rep. Doreen Costa introducing it. Do you think this has the potential to potentially get bipartisan support?
I don't see why not. Yeah, I think so.
And what have your colleagues been, what's their reception been so far?
They seem to have liked it. So maybe at some point it could pass.
Well, it's an interesting piece of legislation, as folks have oftentimes said, where's my tax refund? Representative Roberts wants to hold the state accountable and pay if it's not within that 90-day time frame. Right. We'll provide a link to that bill for you after the fact if you're watching here. And as I said, the big issue today kind of came about quickly. This was the Speaker of the House putting forth revised legislation that not a lot of folks have even gone through yet. But what have you heard as this process has gone on from your constituents pertaining to the state's involvement and moving the POSOX potentially from McCoy to APEX?
I really haven't heard much about it. I know that they're rewording some things, revising it. I don't know what is in it exactly because I have not read it yet myself. But I'm still hearing from my constituents right now, they still don't want the deal. So we'll see what happens as time goes on. I like to get a look at it first before I can definitively say. But obviously, I'm going to do whatever my constituents want. So.
And have you had some outliers? Have you heard from anyone says, you should be behind this?
No. No.
Well, we're expected to hear from House Minority Leader Patricia Morgan. The Rhode Island Republican Party did come out in opposition to this. Again, it's going to be before House Finance this afternoon, this revised legislation that GoLocal has reported on. We're going to continue to keep a close eye on it. It is May 31st.
Yes.
We don't expect to be up here much longer.
No.
But we talked about the tax legislation. And that bill number again?
7487.
7487. This would hold the state accountable to provide returns to taxpayers within 90 days or themselves incur that cost that oftentimes taxpayers have to take on their end. Representative Roberts, I appreciate your taking the time to come on today.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to let you go around the corner, and we'll be back shortly here at the Rhode Island State House with our next guest.